architectural work in Unreal Engine. So we will focus on getting an overall knowledge of the entire software. And once we have the overall knowledge of the entire software, I will explain everything. And then when you will be aware of everything, after that I will show you how you can combine all the information, all the tools, all the techniques which you will learn in this course to get something great, or get something photorealistic. Okay, so but be 100% sure that only using lights and its parameter is not going to help you get a photorealistic result. There are lots of different things, but for doing or using those things, we should learn them first, and we should be aware of them, what they are and why they will be used, and how they can be used. And then we'll combine all them together and try to make our scene, or lit up an interior scene or an exterior scene. So I hope you understand what I mean here. So let's continue. So I will just delete this sky atmosphere because I will explain it later, and I will switch this off because we don't need real-time capture on the skylight at the moment. But if we use a sun and sky, there is a setting or tools or system in a linear where we can use sun and sky combined together. At that time, a sky atmosphere will take advantage of using a sky atmosphere along with the sunlight. But if we are using it independently, then let it be, use it just independently. So one more thing to be noted, like in all these lights and all the static lights, there are three different type of mobility, like static, like here you can see mobility, static, stationary, and movable. Okay, so the static means you cannot change the light or the intensity of the light in the runtime. Okay, a stationary means you can change the color and intensity of the light in the runtime, and movable means you can change everything like movement and the location and the rotation and color and its intensity in the runtime. But this is the most heaviest of all these three. So when your lights will be movable, it will cost a lot on the scene. But if it's a stationary, it will cost a little lesser than the movable. And if it's a stationary, like a static, then it will cost the most less. Like it will cost the least amount of a strain on your scene. So your FPS so if you want to have a good FPS in your scene, and you want your when you are working, like when you are exploring the scene inside Unreal Engine in real time, and you want the best possible FPS in your scene, then you have to stick to static lighting, and you'll have to bake the lighting. Okay, so when you bake the lighting and the lights are static, that means all the information and all the lighting information, material information, texture information will be baked on the surface of the mesh, and it will not be calculated at the runtime. So only the work of the graphic card will be to display things which has already been done. Like when lighting is baked, everything is done and fixed and finalized, and only the work of the graphic card on a static scene will be to just display the things which are already done. But using a stationary light, it will be like half of movable, half of a static. And when it's movable, everything is going to be done in the game at the runtime, and it will be the heaviest, and you will not get a good FPS. So in architecture, whenever you want to get the greatest result possible or the best result possible, then my suggestion will be always use a static lighting, or always use your lighting as a static, all the lights, whether it's directional, point, spot, rectangular, or skylight, and bake the light, like use the baking process, which I will be explaining you later what baking is and why it's done and how it can be done. I will be explaining once we learn all this interface and all the tools. Then I will try to show you the ways where you can use all the information and knowledge you have gained after following this entire tutorial and use them constructively and efficiently. So whenever you want the best FPS, use the static lighting with a static meshes and baked version or baked process should be used. But when you want to just use the Unreal Engine in architecture for doing cinematic view or rendering just single frames with high resolution, then you can use the dynamic version, which I will be showing. I will also be showing the dynamic process of lighting a scene in engine, but main focus as of now will be to teach the entire interface, to teach the entire software first, and then use all the knowledge and all the techniques together, combine them efficiently and get great result in also in dynamic lights. So to get good FPS, use static and baked version, and when you to get just great, like make cinematic, but you cannot get a good FPS in dynamic, because dynamic light everything has to be calculated at the runtime, and that way it will be very heavy and you will not be getting good FPS in the scene. So as of the moment like Unreal Engine is, avoid using Unreal Engine dynamic lighting approach for real time experiences like moving in the scene in real time. Okay, rather than stick to the static version, and maybe later on when Unreal Engine will be released in the final version, then you can use Unreal Engine for dynamic version or like dynamic ways of lighting, and you might get good FPS at the runtime. But I highly doubt about it. It will not be possible no matter which version and what when it's finalized and production is ready. I highly doubt based on my experience and knowledge, like it will be the case that you will get a 90 fps or 120 fps in a scene with dynamically lit with all the types of lighting present inside that, like emissive material and then point light, spotlight, rectangle light, and then sunlight, skylight. If you add like if it's a big project and you need to add all those different types of lights to get the best result at that point of time, no matter what version of Unreal Engine 5 is, I highly doubt you will get a good FPS like 120 or 90. So at that time also, it will be relevant to use dynamic lighting for rendering cinematic videos, high quality, efficient cinematic videos, which can be done very fast in Unreal Engine 5 using dynamic lighting. And if you want to explore the scene in VR and in real time, then you have to use the static baked version. There will also be a hybrid situation where you can just use some dynamic lighting and some static lighting, and then combine all those both of the world together efficiently and good, a scene which feels like which is kind of dynamic in real time, which you can where you can change things dynamically in runtime, but at the core or by at the heart it will be also a static scene. On top of that, dynamic elements will be implemented to get maximum interactivity in the scene at the runtime. And that also I will explain you how to use hybrid condition using dynamic and static both together later on when we learn the entire interface and all the tools of Unreal Engine. And that time, if I teach anything about those things, it will be very much clear to you, because you will be aware of everything that I will be explaining at that time. So let's continue further and try to understand the whole interface as a software, like whole Unreal Engine as a software itself first, get a good knowledge about it, and then we will use all those knowledge and tools and techniques present inside Unreal Engine and try to get whatever we want. So I hope you understand now this static, stationary, manual, like movable. Every time try to stick to a static as the moment, like while you are working. So I hope you understand a static, stationary and movable. So now let's continue. Here you can just rotate and all these things. You can just rotate, scale, and then move location and all those things. You can also right click on it, copy any value and paste it on anything. So you can right click on these things and copy and paste it. So it should be like you should be aware of that. You can right click, copy, and it will copy XYZ, and then you want to apply the same location value to any other object, Like, let me show. If I select this, I copy this, and if I select this and I paste it on here, you see it will be moved. So this is a very handy tool. You can right click and copy and paste it on any other object. So now let's continue on the skylight. So this you are already aware of real-time capture. You just need to add a sky atmosphere and then it will start working in real time and it will capture the sky. This one is source type. That means this is using SLS captured scene. Like Unreal Engine is automatically by default is capturing the scene and using it to emit light in the scene. Okay, and we are controlling the amount of intensity of that HDRI from here. But for an instance, we want to use our own light, okay, or like we want to use our own HDRI texture. So in that scenario, we'll go ahead and right click here in the content browser, right click, click import, and you will find the HDRI. So I have HDRI here and I will just select this HDRI. I will click open it, and then I can just go here and change it from SLS captured scene to SLS specified cube map. And now you can go ahead and then apply this texture on it. And now the scene is being lit up with this texture. And you can also double click this texture. And then you can go here on level of details, MIP gen settings, and change it from texture group to no MIP map. Okay. And then close it. I will explain this texture editor later. So now you can just go ahead and control the intensity of the light like this HDRI using this, and you can also add a little amount of tint if you need, like some you want to make it a little bit bluish or something like that, you want to make it reddish. Like, just to inform you that you can on top of using an HDRI, you can use this color also to give a tint on the HDRI. But I will highly recommend you not to use a skylight directly with the HDRI in a dynamic scene in Unreal Engine 5. But if you are using a static way like Epic's GPU light mask, which I will be showing you, then you can use this HDRI method to lit up your scene and it will help you a lot in getting good result. But if you are using a dynamic lighting scenario, then I will always recommend you to use this real-time capture, which I will be showing with the help of this sunlight later on, and I will also show you how you can use it efficiently. But I will recommend never use SLS captured scene. Never. Either use real-time capture along with this sun and sky, which I will be showing, or either use SLS specified cube map, but never use this SLS capture scene. It's like no ways, like it's not good, it will not good give you good result because the captured scene, default capture scene engine is not good at all. So either use a SLS specified cube map while you're doing a static lighting baked version using Epic's GPU light mask, or use real-time capture if you are using a dynamic lighting situation. But if you are using a dynamic lighting setup, then do not use SLS specified cube map. Instead, rely on the real-time capture setting here. So I'll just reset it here, and I will also reset it here, and I will increase the intensity of this. So this is source cube map angle. Okay, so suppose this HDRI texture was having a sun present in it. Let me explain you also that. So I'll go ahead and bring this sky, okay, like HDRI sky, or you can also say HDRI, and I will open this, and now I'm going, like, I double click to open it, and now I will change this from texture group to no MIP map. So every time you want to use an HDRI on a skylight, always go in the texture editor and in level of detail MIP gen setting, change from texture group to no MIP map. So your texture will be absolutely crisp, it will not be blurred, because if it's from texture group, Unreal will try to blur the texture and keep its size as low as possible for greater FPS. But if you make it no MIP map, it will be showing the texture as it is. Now let's go ahead and decrease its intensity. So when I decrease the brightness, you see, I went into the adjustment and I into the brightness and I change it from point 0. I change it to 0.025, or let me again change it to 0.015. So now you can see this HDRI is having a sky here, like this bluish part where there are clouds and a sky and then like haze, in the environment, and also a sun. Okay, so there is sun here in this HDRI, but in this HDRI there is no sun. Okay, no sun. That means when we will use this cube map angle on these types of HDI texture, it will be of no effect because there is no sun information in it. So no matter where, like what angle you rotate this, rotate this HDRI, it will be the same because it's the same in every aspect. But if you are using a HDRI like this one, and where there is sun and then sky, and you want to rotate the sun or change the location of the sun, at that point of time this option will come very handy. So let's again go here and click on this SLS specified cube map, select this image and then apply this on it. And now if we change this color, you can see the shadow here, the effect of the shadow here. Okay, so if I keep it like this, and you can just see the shadow effect here. So the whole HDRI can be rotated at 180-degree, and you can see here like it will affect the shadow. So this is being rotated on Z direction.